Well, Sean McEvoy joins us now. I'm sure his Monday's going well. He is at QB Coach McEvoy Quarterback Takeover. They're training all these great quarterbacks there, including your latest Tennessee Titans quarterback draft pick, Malik Willis. Sean, how in the world are you doing, man? Thanks for the time today. I know you're busy these days.
Yeah, I'm doing great. First off, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been busy, but it's fun to stay busy with these guys. It's been a blast.
Let me ask you this. We obviously haven't seen too much of Malik yet. We saw him in a rookie mini camp, and we saw some video, and I was able to go one day and saw him throw the ball some. But people made so much about his interview skills and his leadership, and people noted his leadership and what they saw from him on the field. That's the biggest first impression from him locally here in Nashville was, my goodness, this guy is, just the way he leads, and he was great with the media, all this charisma. When you first met him, what was your first impression of Malik?
Yeah, very much that same thing. It kind of jumped out at you just who he was as a person. It's cool because through this whole maturity in these last 6 years of him getting better at the quarterback position, that piece of it was the part that never really had to be trained, right? Just who he is as a person, his work ethic, how he is as a leader and how his teammates and other people gravitate around him. That's been who he has been since I met him in high school. And then obviously you've just seen him grow as a player and therefore more and more confidence. And I think you've seen him be even more comfortable with the media and in some of those situations.
What's it been like for you, whether he goes to Auburn or he goes to Liberty or now he comes to Nashville, to watch people kind of discover this guy?
It's my favorite part. It's my favorite part. It's so funny. During the draft prep process, that's the number one question I'll get is like, hey, tell me about Malik. What's he like as a person? And I hate answering it because I want guys to experience it themselves, right? Like, and you guys can't do that at mini camp and his first press conference. And he just, everywhere he's been, he's instantly been able to fit right in and be one of the guys right out of the gate. And I think there's some value in that he had to do it at multiple places. He transferred in as a senior in high school, came in there, had to kind of learn a new team. And then he goes to Auburn and he has to do it in 2 years there. And then he goes to Liberty and does it all over. And so I think, if anything, what he's walking into now, albeit at the NFL level, is fairly similar, fairly comfortable for him.
Sean McEvoy, our guest, quarterback takeover, the coach for Malik Willis, personal coach for years.
Yeah, Sean. Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you, Sean. How did you meet, Willis, Malik? Because it seemed like you've been knowing him for a long while. Am I making a bad assumption here? It just seems like you have.
No, absolutely right. Yeah, when he made the move in high school to go to Roswell High School, I had worked with and trained other quarterbacks at that program, and the head coach kind of, connected the two of us together. At that point, you guys know the backstory now, but Malik played a little bit of receiver, a little bit of quarterback in his first few years of high school, and was making that full-time transition to quarterback going into his senior year. So at that point, he obviously needed to really focus on his development, and we started working together, and it's been, kind of along on the journey here ever since.
So you're saying, Sean, that he didn't play quarterback until going into the senior year full-time? Or in high school?
Full-time, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. He started at Westlake High School, and some guys in the Atlanta area know that's where Cam Newton played his high school
I'm familiar
football.
With it.
And was, just they used him wherever they could use him to win.
Gotcha.
And so he played receiver, and then there was a time where they weren't getting it done at the quarterback position. They just, put him in there, wanted him to touch the ball on every play, made a bunch of plays with his feet, was making throws. A.J. Terrell with the Falcons was a teammate of his, so I mean, there's a number of clips of Malik throwing to A.J. Terrell when A.J. was playing wide receiver. And, you're just putting your best athletes on the field and trying to win games. By the time, though, that he transitioned to Roswell and certainly was starting to focus on what his opportunities would be at the next level in collegiate, that was when he full-time made that transition and has been obviously a quarterback only since that point.
We're on with Sean McEvoy, who trained Malik Willis, and I'm sure a ton of other quarterbacks. He was with Quarterback Takeover, Quarterback Guru. I guess kind of foundationally, who was your mentor growing up, and kind of give us a little bit about your background, and then lead into what's the foundation of what makes quarterbacks, I guess, get to the next level, whether you're giving advice to a high school kid or to a college kid to the next level pro?
Yeah, such a cool question. I mean, I started playing in fifth grade was when I started playing tackle football and was just fortunate enough, probably because I wasn't good enough to play any other skill position. I became a quarterback kind of right out of the gate. My dad played college football. He played at Villanova back in, most guys know Villanova's the basketball school, but they were, Division 1A program back then. And so kind of football was in the blood, and my dad was one of my first coaches and things of that nature. And just very fortunate to have a couple of really good high school coaches that, I think you just kind of instill confidence in you. I think that's so important at the quarterback position to feel like, your coaches have your back and they believe in you and the team rallies around you. And I think that's, you try to be the leader in that instance, but it's nice to have that support. So I was really fortunate, became a high school football coach, started training my quarterbacks kind of in the off season, just trying to help my guys be better for the fall. And through that process, really dove deep into the quarterback development space and tried to learn as much as I could and get better to help my quarterbacks that I was working with be better. And then kind of segued over the last 7 to 10 years, doing this for a living now, just doing the private quarterback training, build up a little base. You get some great athletes like a Malik Willis, who obviously take your coaching and go and do big things with it. And it kind of grows from there. And then the last 3-4 years came together, partnered with Quincy Avery, who a lot of people know is Deshaun Watson's longtime quarterback coach the last few years, Trey Lance and Justin Fields and Jalen Hurts and Dwayne Haskins, have been some of the crew that we've taken all the way through from college to the draft prep to the NFL. So it's been definitely a cool journey. I know there's the second part of your question about what the most important things we're trying to do from a development standpoint. I think the number one thing is building consistency, right? And that's pretty common sense here. Everybody's going to kind of win their own way and have their individual mechanics that work for them. But the key is just that we're able to replicate that and throw the same way every time. The other big piece is just that the quarterback's really stable, has a good base and balance. So we're talking from the waist down, good footwork, stable at the top of the drop, able to put themselves in good positions to throw the ball successfully.
Talking about foundation and being stable, I guess kind of give us where you think Malik is right now with that stability and the foundations, considering he didn't play the position a real long time, at least consistently here until the last, 4 years or so. So, yeah, kind of take us through where he is at with that and his mechanics.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where he's had to make the biggest stride. He's just obviously very athletic, very fast and fluid, all these things that make quarterbacks very successful, very whippy with his arm, and you kind of see that now with all the arm talent he has. That was very natural for him. So in a good way, because he hadn't been playing the quarterback position for so long, he didn't develop some of the bad habits that I'll see quarterbacks create, right? And so in a cool way, he was like this, this
new toy, yeah, oh yeah,
the mold, right? You just kind of, it was good to go. So, but being more consistent with this throwing motion, early on in his development in high school, first year of college, you have a group of college quarterbacks, and he would have the best 5 throws of the day, like just doing stuff that nobody else could do. You just weren't seeing those throws often enough, right? And so getting him into a position where he was, his feet were underneath him, he was loaded so he could generate consistent power, and he was able to stay stable all the way through the throw. Obviously, if we lose stability, we lose power, but we also can affect our accuracy. And so where he is now, and where he was the last couple of years, is the best he's been at being more consistent as a passer from the pocket. Obviously, now the next kind of hurdle is doing new footwork, right? More stuff from under center, more stuff in the play action and passing game that, some footwork and drops that he hadn't done previously. And that's where he's been working really hard now over this last, month to 6 weeks to really dial in with what Tennessee's going to be asking him to do this year.
We went with Sean McEvoy, quarterback takeover, straining Malik Willis through the numerous years before he came to the Titans as a draft pick. I guess one more for me, and that is take us through. You just talked about it, playing under center, playing the pro game. Talk about how hard it is for quarterbacks with all the shotgun in high school and now in college to transition to doing that, and is how easy or difficult that could be for some, but not particular Malik, just that transition to that, and then going through your progression reads under center compared to being in shotgun.
Yeah, really good observation there. I think the footwork itself isn't as hard as some make it out to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like anything else. It just takes repetition. So the first 8 times you do, a new play action drop from under center is going to look pretty poor. And then you do it 100 times and it looks like you've been doing it for 5 years. Right. And it really is just like put the time in, get the reps of it, and you pick it up pretty quickly. And the key, once again, is to get to a position at the top of the drop, whatever that drop is, that is the same every time. And so if you can get to a point where once he gets to the top of the drop from this new under center footwork, he feels like the same way he would be from the gun, like he's played the last 5-6 years, then we're in really good shape. And at that point, you're just playing the position again. I think, the challenge of being up at the line as opposed to sitting back, I don't think pre-snap is going to affect too much for him. Obviously, you're making the observation as you walk up under center anyway, and you're seeing the field. So I don't believe that's an issue, but certainly having to read things post-snap while you're dropping back is a challenge that's different than being able to just sit back there, catch the snap, and observe the field, which is why so many teams will put their quarterbacks in the gun and certainly in passing situations to be able to give him that advantage. Mm-hmm. But the trade-off there is you don't create the same type of things in your play-action game. Obviously, what Tennessee likes to do with the running game they have, how physical they can be up front, the trade-off of maybe not seeing the field as clearly from under center, I think gets offset by what you can create in the play-action pass game, forcing defenses to account for the run, and then you're able to create more time off that play action that then makes up for maybe the visual he didn't get right out of the gate, if that makes sense. So it's definitely a trade-off is the way I would put it. And like I said, it's going to be new and different. And so this rookie minicamp and these OTAs and, preseason and all these opportunities that Malik will have will be those reps that he needs to get comfortable doing something he hadn't done before. But that's what it is. It's reps. And once he gets that number that he needs, and there's no set number, obviously, but whenever it works for him and all comes together, I think you're going to see a guy who's ready to play some really good football.